Hey, I'm Mickey.
Hi, I'm Kat.
We are Cat and Mouse Astrology. Welcome to the solstice, the winter solstice of 2020.
We made it. We made it this far. Oh,
We made it this far. It's feeling I don't know. Does it feel solsticey?
no, because climate change and it's too nice of a day. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't have that sense. There's always this feeling like we've been through darkness by the time we get to this point because we're at the darkest point.
Right, but it gets to be more like, oh God, could there be more light, please? It's still so dark.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not out of the darkness yet. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The retrograde, we've got this Mercury retrograde we're in the middle of. So that, or at the beginning of, really. So maybe that's feeling the pullback. I'm not feeling that, oh, it's getting lighter yet. And of course, we are at the pitch blackness of it.
Mm-hmm. Pitch
So
black.
sometimes I don't really feel that way till February when you can actually see the light change.
Yeah, yeah.
But in fact, in a few days, it's going to get lighter and lighter out.
Right, right. Just a few more days and it'll get lighter out. I
Hang on
could use it. I could use it.
a few more days. Each day will be a little bit brighter.
Yeah. Because we've been in an intense, and my apologies for being absent for some months. I've been in profound loss in multiple areas of my life. So it's very dark times.
And it's
And
a lot of people. And I know that, yeah, just rough.
it's been a rough season for a lot of people. And so sometimes I reflect on it and I'm like, I still have it pretty good. It could be a lot worse, no matter how bad it is. Um, but there's obviously something going on with Saturn, and there's been something going on with Saturn for many weeks now. And I wonder if you've probably been talking about it this whole time. I don't know if you could give me a like brief synopsis of what Saturn's been doing recently.
Yeah, we've got Saturn that's been square the nodes, Pluto square the nodes. That was the one that gave me the biggest, I don't know, there was kind of a deep choice that I think that a lot of people had to make. And
Hmm.
Saturn making it real with Neptune there in Saturn's really weird in Pisces. Structuring things that are nebulous.
And watery.
Yeah. I mean, how do and you and I have talked about this some with 12th house. I wonder how you're faring there because, Saturn is in Pisces is in a almost like a 12th house configuration, regardless of where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the association, not necessarily a direct correlation with,
Right.
but there's an end sign, right? Pisces is the ending sign, the spiritual sign, and so there's some kind of a culmination here with Saturn, and the fact that it's just so slow. Whatever it's doing it so slow, and whoever has planets in Virgo, you're feeling this because you got an opposition there. And anybody with squares, you're feeling that because you've got that grinding square as you try to make change and turn corners. And you've got you have, as I have, that Aries Libra axis. And right now that's where the nodes are. That I think is a real big deal for the world in its impact on balance, fairness, and letting go of things because this is in Libra to let go.
We are struggling with that, right? Balance and fairness and letting go. So much loss. So much loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm extra struggling because all of this Saturn in Pisces has been um, directly opposite my Saturn in Virgo, with the black moon sitting on top of my natal Saturn and transiting my natal Saturn. So
Ouch.
yeah, it's hurt. It's been hurting.
Yeah, that's a real constriction, restriction. And without knowing or understanding why or how sometimes the restriction is there.
Right. And so it's, yeah, there has been an element of, well, like I can't make sense of this. Like I've been in one area of loss. I just keep telling like you can't make sense out of batshit crazy.
Right.
Like
You just hurt yourself trying to make sense when it doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
Yep. Yep. So, Robert Wilkinson a while ago termed the grand irrationality, and that was the square of Pluto and Uranus that we moved out of,
Mhm.
a couple years ago, but there are still things that trigger that. When a certain, I haven't done the research, I'd have to email him to see, but I'm curious to know if we've recently had a triggering of that grand irrationality that, because there is this whole element of, wow, this doesn't make sense. X happens, and so the reaction is completely out of proportion or doesn't meet, it doesn't seem to even make sense.
Yeah, like why would you even put those two things together?
Right.
It's like being around people who are like, oh, this thing happened, and therefore this completely unrelated thing.
Right.
Like those two things don't actually go together. Or I've even been dealing with people who are like, something that happened at this point in time caused me to do something earlier. And it's like, well, no, you can't. Like, something that happened on Saturday isn't why you did something the day before. Like that's totally irrational.
Totally irrational. And right, how do you respond to that? It's taking deep breaths and realizing that it must be harder for to hold those irrational thoughts than to reject them. Because
Right. So it's like I'm trying to have like so much compassion for the people who are around me who seem to be stuck in this like state of just like chaos and irrationality. And I'm trying to just be in a place of compassion for what they must be going through,
yeah,
and not just pity them, because it's easy to just then turn to pity and feel better. So I'm like I'm really struggling with that.
yeah, I get that completely. I do. And it's also, there's been the stress that this opposition has caused in this time, which for me, we're in a new Mars cycle, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. But Mars has been a real trigger for some time, ever since its long term in Gemini. It has been kind of like leading the pack and
Mhm.
triggering things in various ways. And
Right.
I'm certain that it's behind not only worldwide events that are both irrational and angry, but
Yeah.
personal things that are irrational and often angry.
Angry. It's like oh yeah.
Misplaced anger.
Why are you making things up in your head to be angry about?
There's so many
Because
rational,
Mars.
right. There's so many rational things you can be angry about, but
Blame it on the stars. It's so much easier than blaming it on ourselves.
okay, this quote. Oh. Oh, but well, shall we share the chart and see what we get here? Let's
Let's see what the chart says.
toss these dice and see what happens. So this is the winter solstice, and
Right.
see if I can get away from the little screeny thing there. Here is the winter solstice chart, which is on the 21st. I'll scroll back up. 21st about 9:27 p.m. and that's universal or Greenwich Village time. So that's from where we are about 6 hours. We're about 6 hours later than that, but that depends on where you are on the planet. So here's our interesting chart because, look, we've got a conjunct Sun and Mercury, and Mars is right here, right here. Mercury is retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
Conjunct.
Right next to each other.
So, they call this combust. I love this. Anne Ortley had this description. I've never heard such a wonderful description. Thank you, Anne. And her description was, it's like, if you were in the center of the flame, if you run your finger through a flame and you
Mm.
put your finger through the center of the flame, it's not hot.
Mm-hmm.
Hit the periphery. That's hot. You'll burn yourself. If you're in the center of the storm, the eye of the storm, it's still. If you get on the edge, we are going to get whipped around. So
Right.
there's this Mercury when it is close to the sun, but not exactly combust the sun. When it's combust the sun, it's brilliant. It's in the center, the eye of the storm. It's centered with the sun. But when it's on the edge like that, a degree away, it's just getting whipped around. Mercury is about as confused and messed up as it can be right now, and it's going back over old crap, headed back into a conjunction with Mars.
Oh,
Uh, For Pete's sake.
that explains the awful emails.
Right, the tongue lashings, as people go back over what about that happened in the past.
Right.
In a confused roundabout way, as Mercury is. This is a good time to take a break from communication.
I
Frank,
think so. I think so.
when you write the Christmas cards, just sign your name.
Yeah. It's time for a new phone. And I was thinking, I don't think I'm going to put my email on it. I think I'm not going to put my email on my phone.
People get angry at me, but I don't have mine on my phone. And it's because I just don't want to be constantly chain-jerked.
Yeah.
Else.
As
Like,
texting is bad enough that people can reach you all the time and expect responses right away.
exactly. If it's a text, I sort of think it's important, but emails usually aren't. They-
That's like almost all advertising now. And I just have to unsubscribe all the time. So
Exactly.
stupid.
I don't want them jerking my chain.
Mercury retrograde through the sun.
And look at here, look at Neptune. It's
Yeah.
still in a loose square with this.
Yeah.
Not exactly square now, but it's
Oh, with Mars.
not far
Okay.
off, right? It's not far off.
Is that where the delusions are coming from?
A whole lot of energy to what attack a windmill.
Yeah.
It
Oh my
does,
God.
but I forget that there's people that talk about this now today.
Oh my God. I had the most outrageous accusation thrown at me last week. Like, what are you talking about?
Yep.
You're delusional.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to pity you.
Attack at a windmill. And then, as you pointed out, here's, the star of the show. And that's Saturn opposite Black Moon.
Asshole.
And we've got in a configuration of a kite where all the energy is going towards Saturn. And the kite is out there. We don't know what's going on with the
Right.
kite, which, how the tail of the kite is kind of what, keeps you from falling down into the ground. It's what keeps you buoyed. But we don't even know we don't know what's behind all this.
Yeah.
Black moon is a void. It's our unconscious. It's our deep subconscious. It's what we cannot know of ourselves.
The mystery.
Yeah. Now it's trying our emotions, which means there's some emotional ease to, I would be afraid to say, acting on subconscious issues that we don't even know we are dealing with. And this happens at this time of year, right? stuff comes up from people's shadow comes up.
Seriously.
They don't know their shadow. They don't realize that they're reactive and that they're projecting. And that's my biggest concern is that that's, you know, what this is facilitating.
Right. I totally did that last night with my son. We had like a really strange communication, and like it got really stressful and a little like we separated from each other and calmed down. I was like, okay, I think that I was subconsciously thinking I needed, like, I was doing something wrong and I got reactive and I'm sorry. And yeah, just popping up, like something set me off. I wasn't even really paying attention to that was going on internally, and like the way it came out, it was not great. But I did okay parenting after the fact to be like, I'm sorry.
And that's what happens with our friends too. And this is where this is a concern is that, you know, Mercury may not be communicating very well.
Yeah.
And because of poor communication and going back over things, when we hit the Mercury Mars conjunction in a few days, week, you know, there may be some angry words that have come from this confusion.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that there is a saving grace here, and that's Saturn, if we can work Saturn.
Okay, so how do we work Saturn right? To think of Saturn as like the benevolent authority? How do you work Saturn?
I think that's a good question. The way I look at working Saturn is, you know, if Saturn's most positive meanings, let's say, are caution, structure,
Yeah.
um, stability,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know, things like the cornerstones that we need to grow from, or the roots that we need to grow from. That's more Plutonic, though. There's another meaning that's nagging at me, but I can't remember what it is. But you know,
Discipline in a way that like keeps you grounded.
grounded discipline. Yeah. Grounded discipline. So if we can say, you know, especially this is kind of a hard time of year for people to think about grounded discipline. This is the time of year where we're gonna blah, 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 blah.
That's some old wine.
And yeah, I will. But you know, I think if we can, you know, find a way, and part of that is knowing where Saturn is.
Mm,
More discussion, I'll put something below about Saturn through the houses, because Pisces, you know, right now Saturn's in Pisces, right at
yeah.
the beginning again. And again, for those of us who have planets in Virgo, well, it's already gone over them once, and here it comes again.
Here comes again.
Might be feeling in it, you know, we got two things that are coming towards us. One is we've got retrograde Mercury coming towards Mars. Oh, that's not gonna mean nice communication again.
Yeah.
And we have a impending repeat of the oppositions with any of our planets in Virgo
Right.
that have already
Because Saturn was retrograde.
right, because Saturn is now going forward again through those
Right.
planets 10 degrees
Right.
before
Yeah.
territory. So, and then there's an impending conjunction with Jupiter and Uranus coming up this spring. That, so I mean, I think that there could be a sense of an impending, you know, there's something coming. There's something coming, and there is. It's a little bit of a reason maybe to work on that Saturn. Make sure we have
Saturn.
structures in place. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean to go stock up on water and toilet paper, but it doesn't, you know, whatever we need to do to make sure that we have that disciplined, structured thing going on.
Healthy boundaries.
That too, good.
So it would be a really good idea for me to not put email on my phone, so that I have to create a structure where I'm only doing that kind of communication at specific times. I'll never be reactive about it because it's not on my phone and I can't look at it right then.
Perfect. Makes
Right.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Using Saturn to say, okay, that's the boundaries. Where do I want to place those boundaries rather than having people encompass, encroach upon my boundaries, and then I get angry and frustrated. And then there's Mars and Mercury.
Right. Mars and Mercury are the people encroaching on your boundaries. So
Right.
you have to be that Saturn at the top of the kite, being the like wise I'm not thinking, I don't know, wise master, like who knows how they need to structure their life and their day in order to make the most of things.
Exactly. Now we only have a few minutes because our Zoom's going to run out. And I didn't put us on the right Zoom, but in any case, are you able to give us the degree of Saturn right now? It's
Yeah, if I can find yeah, here we go. What is it?
2 degrees of Pisces.
2 degrees, just 2 degrees of Pisces.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's always two. So a squirrel hiding from hunters. That seems apt
It
for
does.
the times.
Hope I buried my nuts well.
Somebody's trying to attack me. Right. Oh my God, a petrified forest.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Both are difficult for that kite.
Both are difficult with that kite, but they are well, I mean, the petrified forest is a lesson in discipline because isn't it partially petrified because it was over harvested? Isn't that the history of it?
Don't know, but that would be interesting to.
Where like they like the forest was over harvested and so the climate changed, and I think that has something to do with it.
Well, the
So,
petrified implies Saturn to me.
oh, how so?
Well, because one of the negative traits of Saturn is getting too rigid,
Oh,
not having the flexibility, boundaries too much. So
right,
like forest to me implies that maybe there's some places where we need to loosen up the boundaries,
right.
you know, and maybe that's, this time of year being more compassionate, as you were talking about, finding that place to be compassionate, especially with people that are incredibly confused and maybe angry in their confusion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's
that
a hard time of year,
it is, and it's been a hard year.
and it's been a hard year.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm so
Why Saturn?
glad. I have to.
What?
I'm so glad to have you back now, and I'm sure everybody else is. So it's really exciting that you're back now. And we're gonna do the upcoming full moon video too, but we'll come back and do that.
Yeah,
So we'll wrap this one up and give it some final thoughts, and then we'll come back and do the full moon video.
okay. I mean, I can be a squirrel hiding from a hunter for a little while. It's fine. It's fine. Well, I don't know. I get my dray in order. Apparently, that's what a squirrel house is called, a dray.
Uh,
Those leaf apartment buildings in the trees.
I was really thinking rap for a minute there, but isn't there a Dre that's a rapper?
Oh,
Sorry, I don't.
Dr. Dre.
Some people play me music that I like, and I don't know. I don't know what to say. Right.
It's spelled a little bit differently. That's all right.
Well, I hope everybody gets some positive coming of light intentions and focus on that Saturn. Focus,
Happy solstice. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't be afraid of the dark. It's good. It's okay to sit through the dark. We all got to go through it, and we'll be fine. And come out, and there'll be some more light. And the full moon will show us the way, I guess.
exactly. Show us the way. Merry, happy solstice, Christmas, Kwanzaa, uh, Ramadan.
I don't think it's Ramadan.
What is that? What is that holiday now? Maybe it's not Chinese New Year. It's not coming up yet. Anyway,
No, not there.
happy holidays, everybody. Mostly this,
Season's greetings.
mostly this year. That's the one that makes sense astrologically.
Happy solstice.
Happy solstice.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.